So I'm sure all of you are aware of this by now, but Netflix has come under a lot of fire. And the reason they've come under a lot of fire is because of something that they've been known to do for quite some time now, except when they got caught doing it here, it basically was the reasoning is, that's what I'm trying to say, basically the reasoning is because it makes them look like hypocrites. And the reason it makes them look like hypocrites is because it contracts one thing they said before, to what they just said recently. You see, what they said recently is that the Cuphead show, which has become a big hit for them, which is based on the video game series, is coming back for its second season in the summer. And the reason this makes them look like hypocrites and contracts what they've said before is everybody knows Netflix came out, or at least it came out and was reported by legitimate sources that Netflix had ordered 26 episodes of one full season. Not two separate 13-season not two separate 2-season 13-episode runs, if you will, or two 13-episode seasons is what I should say, but one whole 26-episode run. And when people heard this, a lot of people thought, okay, they're going to drop all 26 episodes, on the service on day one or within the first week, right? That didn't happen. Instead, they only dropped about the first 13. And because of that, a lot of people were wondering, all right, where's the other 13 coming from? Are they going to show up maybe in a week, maybe next month? What's happening? Well, Netflix, like I said, made the announcement that in the summer, early summer, I'm assuming, that the second season, I should say, of Cuphead show would be arriving. When in actuality, it's the second half of the first season. It's the other 13 episodes. And like I said, this brought, Netflix under a lot of criticism and a lot of fire. Because of the fact that they said one thing, and now they're contradicting, I should say, what they said before, and now saying something else. And like I said, this is a practice that Netflix has been known to do. It's nothing new. We all know that with recently Revelations, Master Universe Revelation, that they separated that into two parts. Yes, it was one season, but they separated it into two parts, is what they did. And they never once promoted the second half of Revelation as a second season. They just said it's the second half. They didn't promote it as anything else. And then, on top of that, you look at She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, and yes, they did go for about, I think, a couple of seasons, 2 or 3 seasons, but they never, ever promoted each season that would be split in half as its own season, thus trying to expand it. They would always say, here's the second half of the first season coming at this time, second half of the second season coming this time, so on and so forth. They did the same thing with Voltron Legendary Defender. They had about, 5 seasons, but they would always split the seasons, if you will, into, 2 halves. Either it was just a couple of episodes and the next season had the rest of the episodes, they would split them in 2 halves. The same with Transformers War for Cybertron. They would split, well, here's the thing about that, I should say. That's one whole show, but they split them like they were chapters. They split them like they were chapters. They never said they were seasons. They said they were chapters. In other words, they said basically, here's part 1, here's part 2, here's part 3. And that's how they went. They didn't treat them as separate seasons or separate shows. They were one, and they just treated them like they were chapters or parts. They never did what's going on here. They never came out and said, we're ordering all these guys here, for one whole season, and then go back on what they said and instead change it up and try to contradict what they mentioned, and instead say, oh, the next 13 episodes of the second season. They never did that. They never did that. It's kind of like with Sonic the Hedgehog Sat AM. When it came out in its, second season, if you will. The second season, if that was on Netflix, if Netflix was existing at that time, Netflix could have said, well, here's season 2 of Sonic the Hedgehog Sat AM, and those could be like the first 13 episodes or so? Or the first, six episodes? And then they would say, and here's season 3, and it was the next 7 episodes? It wouldn't make any sense. Because if they would come out and say, hey, we ordered a whole season of 13 episodes, and then they try to play it off as 2 separate seasons, that wouldn't fly. That's kind of what's going on here with the Cuphead show. People know by hearing from legitimate sources that, Netflix said that they were going to bring out a whole season of 26 episodes. They never said that, they might consider separating them into separate seasons. They never said that. They said it was one whole 26 episode run. And yet now they're coming out and saying otherwise. And again, this has brought them under a lot of fire, because if there's one thing people will criticize them about a lot of the shows, animation-wise, that they've released, is that they've never had the courage or never had the, sensibility to just drop all the episodes at once and be done with it. Because that way, to the viewers, you could give the animation studio that's behind the show that you're showcasing a lot more time, a lot more time, and between then and the future to produce more content for you, especially when it comes to the show you just debuted. But yeah, the Cuphead show, it's a big hit with Netflix, but what's bringing it under fire along with Netflix is the fact that Netflix says one thing, about the season, and now they're contradicting what they said by saying something else. And it just doesn't fit with people. It just doesn't fit very well with them. They feel basically that Netflix is just trying to milk out this franchise as long as they can. Now, some people will agree with Netflix methods. They will agree with Netflix methods. They will come out and say, well, when you think about it, it makes more sense. They want to test out how people are going to react to the Cuphead show initially, and if they like it, then they could bring out the rest of the episodes that they ordered. Whether or not they treat it like a second half or its own separate season, that's their decision. Whatever they feel like doing, they will do it. And that is a good business model if you think about it. Controversial, but good business model to go with. You put out the first half of the episodes you've ordered from the initial season, and if it's not a big hit, then you don't put out the other episodes. You either lock them up in storage, or you let somebody else deal with them, or what you do, if the show is well received, then you decide, okay, let's schedule a date in the future to release the other episodes because, hey, people like the show, and here's more of the show for them. So yeah, there's going to be people that side with Netflix on it, but there are some people, if not a lot of people, that feel that Netflix is being a bunch of hypocrites because they're saying one thing, or they said one thing before, and now they're contradicting themselves by saying something else. But what do you guys think about Netflix method here? I mean, again, it is something they have done before. The only difference, as I pointed out, is they would always say that the other episodes that are showing up are the second half of the season, the second half of the show, or the second half of that season, and not a separate season on its own. So what are your thoughts overall on Netflix contradicting what they said earlier, to where they said they're doing one whole season, to now they're saying, oh, it's separate, and the next 13 episodes are their own thing, or their own season. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comment section, as well as in the live chat during the premiere, where Super Chats and Super Stickers are open and would be appreciated, guys. Also, check me out at BW Rose's Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also check me out at VENMO at BW Roses for content you can't get anywhere else. Also check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses. Then support me there at the $1, $3 tier. Also check me out at deviantart.com/BVW1979. Also check me out at Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2 to help support me there financially. And at Cash App at BW Roses 98. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know how you feel about this whole scenario. Let me know how you feel about Netflix saying one thing and then going and doing another. Do you agree with them? Do you not agree with them? What do you think is a better method? How do you feel overall? Let me know again. Like I said, let me know again in the comment section below, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. And I am out.